Welcome to day 2 of EEP Africa Knowledge Week 2026. This session is being recorded. My name is Kelly Kiyodara, and I am the Fund Communications Officer at EEP Africa. It's a pleasure to host you all today. EEP Africa Knowledge Week is a 3-day virtual event exploring emerging themes and innovative projects in the clean energy sector across Southern and Eastern Africa. And most importantly, the goal of this week is to empower the voices of entrepreneurs. Before we dive into this incredible day 2 session, I'd like to quickly go over a few house rules. If you have any questions during the session, please send them through the Q&A panel located right next to the chat. If you see a question you'd also like answered, feel free to upvote it by clicking the arrow beneath the question. This helps us prioritize the most popular ones. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible at the end, time permitting. If you see, you can go to the next slide, please. Here's the agenda. Today, we will share more about EEP Africa with a presentation given by the team lead, UC Viting. Then we will hear from the winners of the Project of the Year and Rising Energy Leader Awards. To conclude, Suzanne Hounsel, Head of Portfolio for EEP Africa, will share more tips for the upcoming call for proposals. Without further ado, I hand the floor over to you, UC.
So Kelly, and welcome everybody on my behalf also. I assume we have some attendees who've attended these Knowledge Week sessions in the past also, so there might be some repetition for you in my introduction, but I'm also sure that there will be some new faces, and hence a brief EEP Africa introduction, revision of the call proposals format and statistics, and then we move forward, as Kelly mentioned, on the awards and the most interesting bit, I think, today, the tips for interested applicants. So, EEP Africa introduction. Let's start with some quick facts. EEP Africa is a multi-donor trust fund funded by 7 donors, namely Austria, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Nordic Development Fund, Norway, and Switzerland. And Nordic Development Fund, NDF, has a bit of a dual role. We also act as a fund manager. We are based in Helsinki, but we also have implementation support providers, namely SNV and Open Capital, through which we have staff in our focus region. So we have portfolio managers, for example, based in Nairobi, Lilongwe, and Harare. Our focus region you see there on the map, so these 17 countries in Southern and Eastern Africa. And our mandate in the sector is provide early stage support to locally driven innovative businesses that somehow apply clean energy in their kind of solutions. And we pay a special attention also in that those solutions provide kind of benefits to communities and benefits from the climate perspective. We work in 3 key activity areas, the main one being the clean energy financing, and there we provide grants between 200 and 500,000, and also they can be repayable grants. These will be always defined a bit on a case-by-case basis, and our call guidelines and project implementation manual that you have access to via our website have more details on those. We require co-financing, so the project funding cannot be 100% supported by EEP Africa. So we require minimum 30% if you are early stage startup, and part of that can be in kind. Suzanne will review this co-financing principle in a bit more detail later on. And our intake model is open competitive annual calls for proposals, which we will be launching on Monday the 16th, so next week. For those companies who get our grant and get into the EEP Africa portfolio, you have also access to our technical assistance and investment facilitation services. The budget for this is not as big as for the financing, so we don't provide this necessarily to every single grantee. But just to give some examples that what we can provide is, for example, bespoke support, let's say helping you with some market studies if you are looking to expand to new regions, helping you developing your financial management systems or kind of financial modeling scenarios, trainings to cohort level support. We can provide fractional hires, so a kind of more experienced expert working with you, let's say 1 to 2 days a week for a few months to help you set up some systems or kind of key policies that you need to take your company to the next level. We can also provide you with customer insight studies through our collaboration with 60 Decibels, and every single grantee who gets into a portfolio can or has access to event sponsorship once during their grant. So you can attend a regional event where you can network with investors or peers. And you also have an opportunity for industry association membership for 2 years sponsored by us. And those grantees and companies who really perform well and to whom we have confidence in, then we are happy to introduce you to investors that might be looking for promising kind of leads in their pipeline. Thirdly, we have a mandate to kind of learn and disseminate our lessons from our activities. So we try to actively create publications. This Knowledge Week happens annually, which is one opportunity for us to share some knowledge and exchange. We are looking for opportunities to kind of promote grantee visibility, for example, through networking and peer-to-peer learning, often on the sidelines of key industry events. We've also established our alumni network that we plan to activate a bit more the coming year. So once you complete your grant, you can join that network, and then we can also update you on the things we are doing and potentially also keep introducing you to investors as long as we know how you are doing. And in all of our activities, the key is to try to coordinate with partners to really harmonize our activities, make sure that our limited financing brings the most added value for you. And one way of us doing it is to work or be part of the crowd working group where many of the early stage grant providers and TA providers come together to really look for collaboration opportunities. To give you a little overview of where we financed activities since 2018 and what type of projects we've been financing, here you can kind of get an overview of all the 149 projects that we've contracted so far. The footnote being that the 2025 cohort, the bit in gray, is still in contracting. But East Africa, Southern Africa, there's a kind of a good number of projects in most countries. Then some of the smaller markets we typically have difficulties in getting good quality applications. Kenya alone, about 25% of the applications in the last couple of years have come solely from Kenya. So there always we get a lot of proposals, but then probably kind of demonstrating innovation might be a bit more difficult in Kenya than in some of the more nascent markets. Productive uses of energy, very much, I think, mirroring the trends in the sector. A lot of attention, a lot of business ideas have been kind of gone under that theme, and that shows also in our portfolio. Mobility also in recent years, we've been receiving quite a few applications there, but we have a mandate to have a diverse portfolio, and that also is in the country kind of spread as well as in the thematic spread of the type of projects we are financing. Then briefly a short kind of overview of the core proposal format, and then Susan will later on go through some tips and what you really need to pay attention when you submit an application. So request for applications opens on Monday, next Monday. It will be open for 1 month, after which we will conduct an eligibility check, and every application that passes that eligibility check will then go on to full evaluation. Based on the full evaluation, we will longlist a set of companies who will be invited to pitch interviews, and then based on the pitch interviews, the final shortlist decision will be made. And whoever gets shortlisted then needs to really roll their sleeves and put some additional time to developing a full proposal. All the companies that then submit the full proposal will be presented in an external investment committee who will do the final investment decision, and those applicants will then move to further due diligence and contract preparation and sign a contract with NDF for the grant in due course. As my last slide, I'll provide you a bit of an overview of the number of applications we've been getting in the past years to adjust expectations. I I know that it looks like a very scarily low percentage, the success rate, but that's purely because we get so many applications. If you compare the success rate of what the investment committee has approved versus the shortlisting, then you can see that the success rate increases highly. So around 70 to 80% of the shortlisted companies will typically be approved by the IC. I would encourage you not to kind of lose hope with the low success rate. I think last year was our record year of applications ever in the history of EEP Africa, and about half of it did not kind of fulfill the quality of the basic eligibility check. So we received a lot of applications that were incomplete, only explaining the business model, the business idea with 1 or 2 sentences, not giving us enough information to make a justified and conclusive evaluation, or then not fulfilling some of those core eligibility check criteria that Susan will present later. So I would say we maybe get between 300 to 400 kind of eligible applications, and from there then a big chunk being, I would say, too early for our mandate, and then some applicants also trying to apply for a grant that should already be mature enough to go for debt investment or results-based financing. So I would approach this from the perspective that take your time reading the call guidelines, try to understand what is the EEP Africa's mandate. So our mandate is not to fund R&D. Our fund mandate is not to act as an incubator. We are then the off-taker of those early ideas that have been incubated where the minimum viable product has been found, and then we can help you market test it and prove your concept. So if you really pay attention to those call guidelines, then just like going to a job interview, you will understand that you will probably have a good chance of being invited to the pitch interview if your kind of model really matches what we are looking for. This year we have a bit less to commit because we are very much at the capacity of our staff, and also our kind of available financing is kind of running lower than in 2023 and 24, but we still expect around 12 to 18 projects along the same lines as last year end up in contracting after this call. So I think that's my bit. I'll pass back to Kelly, and good luck to anyone listening who is planning to submit an application. Looking forward to receiving your expressions of interest.
Thank you so much, Jussi. As he said, we will hear more from Suzanne about the tips for the next call for proposals in just a moment. But first, it is time to share the winners of the Project of the Year award. I would like to invite Isabelle Leroux, Program Manager at Nordic Development Fund, to share the announcement.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, good morning to everybody. I'm so happy to be here to announce the Project of the Year. So we had the great opportunity together with the jury that was composed from representatives from Acumen, Gaia Impact, and Charm Impact. We had 4 companies that we reviewed, 4 shortlisted companies that we reviewed based on the innovation, the delivery, the impact, the fundraising, and their achievements during the past year as EEP projects. And we had 4 candidates, Knights Energy, Naftor Energy, Isafiri Charging, and Feyen Green Ventures. And we had the pleasure to hear the pitches from these 4 companies, and we had great conversations with them with some tricky questions, and I'm happy to say that all of the companies delivered an excellent presentation, and it was not easy for us to decide on the winner, and but through some deliberation I'm happy to announce that Isafiri was chosen as the Project of the Year. And just to, I want to tell you a little bit what were the arguments of this selection, and of course, Isafiri, we really like their approach of being an e-mobility, a clean energy e-mobility company, really dedicated to transforming transport and productive energy use in rural and peri-urban communities. And the jury welcomed the company's focus on supporting businesses and also micro entrepreneurs that are playing a vital role in driving local economies. Them having different business models and different revenue streams that include services to fish vendors, to smallholder farmers, to women-led agriculture groups, and rural motorcycle riders as well. We like the core focus of the company of implementing business models that support the participation of women in the green mobility sector. We assessed that this was strategic and really potentially transformative in driving societal change that lead to women being active economic agents. And we really were also convinced that Isafiri's approach of integrating electric mobility, solar energy, pay-go financing, and micro-entrepreneurship really has that through this replicable ecosystem that can be adapted to each local context, depending on the needs of the different communities where they are serving. We saw that this has great potential of really serving the needs of rural communities. And the jury really hopes to congratulate Isafiri, and we really look forward to seeing how the company will further scale up its business and bring positive impacts to the communities that they are serving. And with this being said, I'm going to welcome Isafiri's representative to say some words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, what a wonderful, wonderful honor. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. If it's morning for you, my name is Carol Ofafa. I am the CEO and founder of Isafiri. And it's an enormous honor to join you today as we celebrate this big milestone in sustainable development and clean energy innovation. Being recognized today as EEP Project of the Year 2025 for our Solar Ride initiative by Isafiri is a great achievement. This achievement reflects passion, dedication, and partnership that have driven our mission to accelerate the transition to sustainable mobility in Kenya and across the Lake Victoria region. Solar Ride was conceived not just as a project, but as a solution, a response to everyday challenges faced by small business owners, riders, fish vendors, women agricultural groups, and rural communities that are usually burdened by rising fuel costs and limited access to reliable transportation. So through the support of EEP, we have been able to design and pilot clean solar-powered mobility infrastructure and meaningful improvements to the livelihoods of the communities that we work. The EEP catalytic funding and technical backing enabled the introduction of 30 electrical tricycle and bikes, equipping communities with sustainable transport options while reducing operational costs and carbon emissions. And in addition to the fleet, our charging infrastructure, that is solar integrated charging and battery swapping stations, known as the Safiri hubs, and our locally manufactured ice makers have brought reliable, clean power closer to the people who need it the most. These stations don't just charge vehicles, they support community services from phone charging to lighting to cooling solutions, maximizing the value of every kilowatt of solar energy captured. Through this project alone, we have managed to avoid close to 400 tons of harmful emissions, created over 50 direct and indirect jobs for rural women and youth. We have integrated these solutions to support smallholder farmers and fisherfolk, providing not just sustainable mobility, but also sustainable cooling through the ice blocks that we generate every day. EEP support has provided the business development support as well through trainings and policy development that led to our gender equality and ESG policies that have helped us stay grounded and also accountable in our work. We are especially grateful to EEP Africa for believing in our vision and for the early stage grant support that made Solarite possible. EEP investment signals more than financial backing. It demonstrates that, Kenyan innovation and in the capability of local entrepreneurs to lead Africa's green mobility transition. EEP's commitment to early stage high impact solutions provided us not only with funding, but with the business development support, which I think is very unique and very special for entrepreneurs like myself. A pivotal moment also is where EEP Investment helped us join the Get Invest advisory support. This was an opportunity unlocked through our partners, of course, and through EEP's support. But being accepted to this program has amplified our strategic capacity to enhance our investment outreach. We extend our heartfelt thank you to the Nordic Development Fund and all other funders, all other EEP funders, whose ongoing partnership continues to nurture innovation across Southern and East Africa. Their steadfast support to ventures like ourselves, Isafiri, ensure climate resilient, zero carbon solutions are not just ideas on paper, but realities impacting people's life. Thank you for the recognition. We serve, our dedicated team some of us are here today, and for our partners and to every supporter who believes in the work that we do. Thank you so much for this incredible honor. Together, let's charge forward towards a cleaner future. Thank you very much, Isabel.
Thank you, Carol, and again, congratulations to the entire Isafiri team. And I said, we look forward to seeing where you will rise and where you go next. And as I mentioned, it was quite difficult for us to make the final decisions because we just saw 4 excellent companies, and but the jury really wanted to give recognition also to the runner-up, or the company that came very close to a second place, that we really want to also acknowledge here, and that is Feyon Green Ventures, a women-led, youth-led Kenyan clean energy company that is building their own locally manufactured electric pressure cookers for high institutional kitchens. We really liked Feyon's presentation because we saw that it has such an important mission that is really trying to address the various challenges that Kenyan schools face in the context of supplying school meals to their students, which are often associated with high costs and critical environmental and health issues due to the use of firewood in cooking. We saw that, more importantly, in addition to bringing a cost and time-efficient alternative to traditional wood-based cooking, Feyon is really also addressing the crucial development issues relating to the well-being of children, of students, ensuring sustainable nutrition solutions that support educational results and overall healthy and sustainable livelihoods for children. We really did agree that Feyon really stands out as a local youth women-led company that is really also driving institutional and structural change. And because of their local manufacturing also, we see that it is really well placed to drive green job creation and also ensuring a good, fast deployment of their solution in the market. Another key aspect of their business model that we really liked is also their approach of developing and driving sustainable public-private partnerships that really do create a strong foundation for growing business opportunities for the company, but also driving strong development and impact-driven mission. So the jury really looks forward and really supports Feyon's mission, and we really look forward to seeing Feyon also driving this structural and institutional change that we do believe they will demonstrate the potential of local companies in driving strong impact and driving strong business performance through local solutions and local-led know-how. So with these words, I want to congratulate Feyon, a strong runner-up, and if we can hear some words from Feyon as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And my name is Mercy. Sorry, I'm having a cold, but I still hope that I'll be very audible to everyone on the call. It's a pleasure again to be celebrating this award. And first of all, congratulations, Isafiri, for carrying this award home. And it's a pleasure to be celebrating this at the same time. Just a few words to reiterate what Isabella said. This Fionn Green Ventures is on a mission to just do one thing, to make sure that school kitchens no longer need to be dirty. To ensure that school kitchens can be the cleanest and leverage electric cooking and also leverage solar-powered cooking. Based on my experience, I realized that clean cooking is not just a climate issue. It's actually a very systemic systems issue about dignity, infrastructure, and public service delivery, because this is most of our schools, especially here in Kenya, are government-owned schools, and they all rely on found, and some of them do rely on LPG. In fact, the right numbers for Kenya is that at least out of the 45,000 schools, 90% are still using found, and only about 1,000 schools out of the 45,000 are using LPG. This gives us a very big market that is already experiencing high recurring costs, health risks, deforestation, and so many operational inefficiencies. At the same time, we see that Kenya is expanding electricity access, and solar capacity is actually increasing rapidly. But what we are seeing is that cooking is not actually at par with that increase, and also electric cooking is not very common. We've seen a lot of push from different partners for e-cooking in households, but you don't see the same in institutional cooking simply because it's treated as infrastructure. But when we saw that there's a problem, Fionn designed and decided to commercialize the Jiko Cool electric pressure cooking technology back in the year 2020. We began the design in 2023 and actually commercialized last year. Because we knew very well that having the technology alone is not enough, and that institutional clean cooking is very capital intensive, we decided to explore what would become of us the best opportunity we ever did, and that was the application to EEP Africa, because the funding actually became very catalytic. EEP did not just fund Fionn to just acquire hardware. What they gave us was more than that. They gave us a lot of visibility, they gave us a lot of credibility, and they actually sent a very important signal that institutional electric cooking is very viable. In fact, with EEP support, last year, we managed to complete the validation of our technology and actually commercialize that technology. And by the end of the year, at least 9 institutions in Kenya had already transitioned. Actually, 9 institutions. And that validation changed a lot of things. It unlocked partnerships with financial institutions. It strengthens our confidence, our manufacturing confidence, telling us that local manufacturing actually works and it's supported. It allowed us to attract additional funding, additional awards, and the broader ecosystem recognition. I think today it's very good for us because we are fully occupied with installation up until May. In fact, any new order that comes in is slotted in for June because of that visibility that came in. Because when I checked the list yesterday, we have a pipeline of 98 institutions. And the good story is that out of these 98, 90 will be solar-powered kitchens. So this meant that EEP funding did not give us a pilot demand. It actually validated also a very huge market demand. So it helped de-risk innovation at a very critical stage when no one believed that e-cooking was actually scalable to institutions. And being the first locally manufactured electric pressure cooker in Africa, we are very proud, and we would encourage more of this kind of stories through EEP funding. Because, climate transition doesn't exist just when technology exists. There has to be a complete system shift. There has to be a complete behavioral shift for this to happen. We are very happy that now we know Africa is not lacking innovation. We are only lacking patient catalytic capital that understands the realities of building such critical infrastructure from scratch. And institutional cooking is part of that infrastructure. So if we really want a just, scalable energy transition, we would encourage us to continue funding this kind of technologies and promoting locally manufactured solutions that actually serve real kitchens. I'm very happy for the opportunity to share with you our story, to share with you this milestone, and we hope that we are able to inspire the applications for this year's cohort, and all the best to all applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy, and so inspiring, and we are also very proud to be part of this journey of Aeon. And with this word, I'm going to now pass the floor to our EPs, Christina, that will continue with the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel. I hope you can all hear me. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations once again to the Project of the Year awardees, Isafiri and Fion. It's really great to see women doing such great work in the sector. Again, good afternoon. My name is Christina Chikwenembe. I'm a portfolio manager with EEP Africa based in Lilongwe, Malawi. It is my great pleasure to present to you today EEP's EEP Africa Rising Energy Leader Award for 2025. This award shines a spotlight on the next generation of leaders driving Africa's energy transition. It recognizes young professionals who are not only contributing to EEP Africa's funded projects, but who are actively shaping the future of sustainable energy across the continent. Our rising energy leaders demonstrate a strong commitment to advancing clean energy solutions. They bring at least 3 years of a hands-on experience in energy technologies, innovative business models, and market development. They also show measurable professional growth within their organization. And most importantly, they embody leadership with bold ambition and clear vision for the future. I would also like to acknowledge the quality of this year's applicants. The shortlist was strong as all nominees demonstrated remarkable potential, dedication, and promise for the future of the sector. To those who were not selected this year, please know that your work was truly stood out. And to those who and please know that your work was truly stood out. We strongly encourage you to continue leading, innovating, and applying in future award cycles. This year's recipients present dedication, innovation, and resilience. Through their work, they are expanding access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy for communities that need it the most. They also remind us that energy transition in Africa is not only about technology or finance, but it's about the people. To our winners, your work inspires us. Your leadership strengthens the sector, and your ambition gives us confidence for the future of clean energy in Africa. Congratulations, and this is quite well deserved. We also have two winners this year. So I'll present our first winner, which is Diana Mbogo, who is the founder and managing director of Millennial Engineers. The company specializes in solar and wind energy technologies in Tanzania. Diana, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Mbogo from Tanzania, Mwanza, Lake Victoria. It's such an honor and privilege to actually be one of the Energy Rising Leaders of the Year for EEP Africa 2015. I remember my journey with EEP starting off in 2020. And during the application process, I was very skeptic and very scared around it. COVID was actually on the block. It was COVID time, and financing had really dropped across the energy sector. So being able to first have EEP as my first financier after COVID, that was a big thing for me. And I think EEP Africa held my hand through the most biggest project of our company and my life as well. So just to give you a background, I am the managing director and founder for Millennium Engineers. It's a renewable energy based in Tanzania. We were founded in 2016, so we're hitting 10 years this year. In 2020, we were able to start off a project across the sardine fishing industry in Lake Victoria, where we are transitioning low-income fishing communities away from kerosene lanterns together with LED lead-acid battery-powered lamps into solar fishing lamps. And we didn't stop there. We went further into transitioning conventional, traditional methods of drying sardines. Most of you in East Africa, if you've tested your sardines, it sometimes has sand. My dear, the way they dry it. So it's dried on open land spaces and elevated rack systems to dry over a day. And during rainy seasons, you'd find that they lose over 70% of their produce. Well, the 30% that actually remains is usually used for animal feeds. Now, this was a sector that is very male dominated, meaning most of the fishing activity is done by men, while most of the processing work is done by women. And it is very predominantly used by fossil fuels and traditional methods of processing. As a city, I call myself a city girl, moving into the rural areas of Tanzania, Lake Victoria, to just uptake this project. I really think EEP gave me that confidence, because after the locking in EEP, everybody else was on our back. We were able to receive our second co-financing immediately, and then the third came in, the government, locking in with even double our total financing that we were currently raising at that time. Across the years, I've seen how EEP has not stood as just a financier, it stood as a partner. I think over the years we've become, I would say, I know it's an institution, but it's been a friend. And when I say a friend, I look at the way we've discussed challenges in the project. Most times we think that what we write and what we imagine in the theoretical knowledge or theoretical aspect of a project is what might happen on the ground, and it's not. There were times when we changed milestones. There were times we had to remove outputs. We had to expand outputs. We had to include new budgets. So all those changes were incorporated, and not just incorporated by EEP alone. EEP stood to tell the other investors that were in the group, like, I think we need to change this. I think we need to change this. And for me, that has been a very good, I would say, partnership in terms of not just putting in the money, watching you from afar. No, they walk the walk with you. And I think you should take really good, if you are part of, congratulations, and I wish all the best to the upcoming 2026 for the call of application and the ones that will pass through. But I would ask you to really take in what you really use them, like really use them. And when you use them, you can use them. So ask as much as you can, and they will come to your aid. And also, through EEP Africa, we were able to also join GOGLA, which is one of the global solar associations globally, and that really expanded our network. It expanded how we think, how we look at solutions, how we look at our problems, and it also helped us to be out there in the world, because I think in the beginning we really didn't feel how much impact we were building. And just to now see, oh my God, everybody is talking about our projects and our work, it really gave us an idea, oh my God, this is really groundwork. Because over the past 3 years, we've been able to build 2 industrial spaces across Lake Victoria, with the possibility of expanding to around 10 more industrial spaces. We host collectively 5 drying facilities that are solar powered, and in a day we dry 10 tons of sardines. And Every night of fishing across Lake Victoria in Mwanza, we have over 100 boats that are using our solar lights. So that's a lot. And for us, I think the journey has been, how do I say, inspiring for us to see and grow, but also it's been humbling. And I think on my leadership journey, it has really helped me to understand that any solution you build, it is a solution for the people. So involve them. And it's not just the people that are going to use the solution. Involve everyone in the value chain, the investors, the people, the technology manufacturers, the government, the policymakers. So we moved from not just including our ideas in a small group, but we went further to make sure that our solutions are now changing policies in the government. And this year we're changing a 60-year-old policy in Tanzania about solar to get exemptions in the next financial year of the country. So for us, I look at that journey from a simple, I would say, bankrupt company in 2019 when COVID started to a very impactful company in 2016 that it has impacted over 3,000 fishing communities. So I am humbled, but I'm also very grateful to EEP, and I hope many other young and old enthusiasts and impact people in the energy sector to be able to learn through the process, grow through the process, and embrace the journey, because it's going to be bumpy, but it's going to be worth it, and it's going to be nice. So thank you very much for this amazing award. I take it back to the team that has also been hand in hand. So this is all ours, from all our teammates, all the community members that work with us, all the financing partners that are with us. I say this award is for all of us because they've all shaped not just me, but the company that I lead as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana. I think your words have been very encouraging, and I hope the future applicants can also, get encouraged by some of your words. Our next winner for Rising Energy Leader is also a woman. She's from Drop Access. Drop Access provides solutions designed to improving energy and health access in communities in Kenya. I would like to introduce Francisca Mweu. She was chosen for her rising rising role in the electronic and IoT lead at Drop Access. Francisca, the floor is now yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. I am honored to be recognized as a rising energy leader under the EEP Africa program for 2026. And I sincerely thank EEP Africa and its powering for empowering me and other young professionals who are driving clean energy innovation across Africa. For me, I am an electrical and electronic engineer, and currently, as she has said, I am electronic and IoT lead at Drop Access. For me, working in clean energy is just more than a profession to me. It's a mission that's rooted deeply in my home story. I grew up in a community in Eastern Africa, in Eastern Kenya, where electricity was basically either unavailable or unreliable. Yet, if you know history of Kenya, Eastern Kenya they have so much solar around it, but we didn't have any energy to power our homes or our futures, and still, so many of us remained out of reach for all of us. These experiences shaped me. They taught me resilience, resourcefulness, and how to keep moving forward. But that showed me that when energy isn't accessible, children will always struggle to study. And apart from that, healthcare always suffers, and the opportunities disappear for most of us. And that's exactly what pushes me to continue to build my career, especially in clean energy. I joined Drop Access right after university as an IoT intern, but I've grown deep to lead a team of electronic and IoT by building the systems from the ground up. Where there was no systems, I was building them so that we can ensure that we have access in those areas that are underserved. Today, as an electronic and IoT lead at Drop Access, I design and develop solutions that prioritize reliability, sustainability, and access systems that don't just generate power, but empower people. I work on the development of the Vaxibox by Drop Access. This is a portable solar-powered healthcare refrigerator, which is designed to improve vaccine and medicine storage in remote and underserved communities in Kenya. I implement and improve technical systems by designing and testing embedded systems, designing and testing the solar systems, as well as contributing to quality systems for all our solar solutions. Working at the intersection of IoT, renewable and clean energy, and healthcare has really shown me how engineering solutions can directly strengthen essential services and improve lives. Being part of an EEP supported project has really played a major role in my growth as a professional. Through the Vaxibox production project that has happened really in 2025 and throughout this 2026, I've been involved in strengthening our technical system, expanding our production capacity, and helping to translate innovation into practical solutions for real communities. This experience has deepened my understanding of leadership, not only in technology development, but also in collaboration, accountability, and long-term impact. Through this project, my skills in renewable energy has really grown, especially in solar energy. For EEP Africa support goes beyond funding. It has provided mentorship, connection to wider ecosystem of experts and innovators who are shaping Africa's clean energy future. This exposure has challenged me to think more broadly about sustainability and the responsibility to carry as engineers to design solutions that are reliable, ethical, and impactful. What motivates mostly about our impact of our work, we are supporting underserved communities in counties like Laikipia, Turkana, and Isiolo, where reliable cold chain infrastructure as well as clean energy access infrastructure remains a challenge. Knowing that our technology helps protect vaccines and strengthen healthcare system reinforces my commitment to this field. Thank you, EEP Africa, for believing in our mission and investing in the people behind the innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisca, and congratulations once again, Diana and Francisca, for this award this year. Kelly, I bring it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, and to Isabel, and another congratulations to all of our winners. Well deserved, and keep up the excellent work. Now let's dive into the tips for the latest call for proposals, officially launching this upcoming Monday on the 16th. The floor is yours, Suzanne.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. I'm just going to pull up my slides. Great, wonderful. Yeah, congratulations also from my side to Carol, Mercy, Diana, Francisca. These are really well-deserved awards and very impressive projects and powerful individuals, and it's really a pleasure to be working with you. So keep it up. Looking forward to what comes next for you. Just to quickly reintroduce myself, for those who don't know me, I'm Suzanne Hansel. I'm the head of portfolio for EEP Africa based here in Nairobi. And I will take us back to the EEP Africa intake process that you see already introduced earlier, and provide a bit of advice for interested applicants, although obviously our award winners have already given some really, really valuable insights and advice. So please take their word for it. Nevertheless, I will talk a little bit about our eligibility criteria and some of the special conditions we introduced for 2026 that are a bit different from past years. I'll then share what we're looking for from applicants, from projects in terms of their scope and funding requests, and then close with some advice on submitting some strong applications and some next steps. We'll then have time for the Q&A, so please, if you haven't done so, do put your questions into the Q&A box. There we go. So the first question, obviously, that you'll ask is, am I actually eligible to apply? What we're looking for in terms of eligibility is really private sector entities. So entities that have been registered for at least 6 months. So the opening date being mid-February, we would expect that your company registration happened at least before August last year. Really, we're looking for companies that have the goal of becoming a commercially self-sustaining business. NGOs, private, public sector entities can apply as partners, but not as lead applicants. Geographically, we have kept our scope of 17 countries. However, we've introduced some limitations for a few markets in that scope. I will share some more detail on that in a moment. Project scope, nothing has changed here, not much. We're still technology agnostic, as you already alluded to. We need to see a strong component linked to clean energy and energy efficiency. And the types of projects we can fund is also quite broad. We can fund feasibility studies, pilot projects and scale-up projects, as well as replication projects where you have a successful solution that is doing well in one country, but you want to move into a new market, ideally a nascent market where you can apply that innovation. Let me briefly talk about the special conditions that we introduced for the call for proposals 2026. Jussi already mentioned we have lower funding amounts available at the moment. Our donors have been really supportive and committed to EEP Africa, but we do need to manage the fund allocation so that we can keep operating. So hence a reduction in the maximum ticket size from previously 1 million euros to 500,000 euros. That will allow us to fund a few more projects, hopefully. We did also introduce a new category for e-waste management, and for that category, all countries can apply and can submit projects on e-waste management. However, we have introduced a limitation that Kenya, Botswana, Mauritius, Namibia, and South Africa, for those markets, we will only accept projects focused on e-waste management. Again, in a way to manage the funding that we have available, because we see a lot of applications coming, especially from Kenya and South Africa, but also making sure that the funding reaches where it is most needed. So the lower income countries, most of these markets here are solidly in middle income territory, or in the case for Kenya, we see a lot of funding programs already that address similar things to what EEP Africa is also providing. And as a third point, what we've also changed is not changed because it was always a practice, but we've made it more explicit. We've added some clarifications on what we consider as additional in terms of some of those more established technologies, such as solar lanterns, solar home systems, and biomass cook stoves. Let me go into a bit more detail on those last 2 points. So for e-waste management, do please refer to the CFP guidelines. We've created an annex there that gives you a lot more detail on what we consider as an e-waste management project, which technologies, which value chain components we would consider eligible, what conditions we would also apply in the evaluation of such projects. But just very briefly, when we're talking about e-waste in the context of EEP Africa, we are referring to discarded electrical and electronic equipment and its components that can be clearly traced back to clean energy operations. So that's in the broadest sense of the word, solar equipment, batteries, lamps, even cooling, freezing equipment, etc. So again, refer to the guidelines on that. For e-waste management projects, you can cover one or more stages of that e-waste management value chain, again, with clear benefits on the clean energy side as well as environmental benefits. Do please have a look at the guidelines for more detail. The most important part, repeating myself again, have a clear connection to clean energy objectives. I think that's the key here. In terms of the geographic additionality, you see already flagged this. While EEP Africa is generally technology agnostic, we do need to have that innovation component. And the countries that we've listed here are the markets where we feel that solar lanterns, solar home systems, and improved biomass cook stoves, so specifically the tier 2 and 3 stoves, we don't necessarily see the innovative element there anymore, given where the market is at. We would say that results-based financing mechanisms might be more suitable to drive these technologies in these markets. That said, if you wish to submit a project that focuses or promotes these technologies in the listed markets here, then do make sure that your business model demonstrates innovation or the geographic focus or the demographic focus that you have for your project, for example, targeting particularly vulnerable communities. So this was just some general guidance on project scope and the changes we've done for 2026. In terms of the really sort of concrete eligibility checks that we do based on the stages that Jussi was describing earlier, so the EOI stage and then eligibility checks and evaluation. Our first check is really that your project does not contradict any provisions in our exclusion list. The biggest one of that is fossil fuels. We cannot fund any projects that either increase or prolong the use of fossil fuels. So those projects will not even be evaluated. They will already be dropped at eligibility check stage. The next check is very specifically on statutory documents. We need to see a company registration and a tax registration that is dated pre-August 2025, so that 6 months window. And what we also need to see from you is a bank account holder confirmation for your company. These are documents that always get us into delays during due diligence, and that is why we need to see them as early as possible. They also demonstrate that your company or project is in active development and has been operating for a sufficient amount of time to hopefully show a little bit of traction. The other point that will unfortunately get you disqualified very quickly is, as we're going through your application is incomplete. Specifically, the text questions. There aren't very many text questions where you have to elaborate. I think there are 6 or so. We give a word limit of 200-300 words. If you only submit 1 sentence, that doesn't give us enough information to actually evaluate your project. So then, unfortunately, we have to disqualify that application. So please be consistent, be concise, but use that space to describe and show what you're planning to do with your project. Once we've checked those aspects, we look at, are you actually in line with our guidelines? So, for example, we cannot fund projects that purely consist of what we call the soft activities, such as, for example, purely doing a market study or training, capacity building, policy development work. This is the kind of projects where we would say this is not our job as EEP Africa to fund this. What we want to see is measurable impact, deploying of products, of systems, of energy access to communities. This can be soft activities, can be a component of the project, but they can't be the sole focus. Similarly, we need to see a minimum viable product. So if you don't have a proof of concept, if you're still at R&D stage for your product, then we cannot fund that. EEP Africa needs to see some proof of concept of the technologies, of the products, of the services that you're looking to promote. And lastly, additionality. If we don't see an added value in your project against the existing baseline in your country that you're looking to implement, and either, on that geographic side, equivalent solutions already exist, they're already tested, they're being operated commercially, there's no added value of EEP Africa funding to come in. Similarly, financially, we need to see financial additionality. If your company should actually have the resources based on its maturity and existing operations to pursue an opportunity by itself, then EEP Africa financing additionality is not there. So these are the sort of key points to keep in mind as you're considering applying for EEP Africa. Now, what do we actually look for from you, from a project that you're submitting to EEP Africa? The most important part is active development and demonstrating that you have skin in the game, that you've worked on this project already, that you have demonstrated your commitment through, putting sweat equity into the project, through getting that initial traction with customers, having your minimum viable product in place. We do want to see also a strong and enthusiastic leadership and a team. And if you don't have a full team yet, that is also okay. We finance early stage companies. Show us that you have a vision for the team that you want to put in place. We do want to see local leadership and a deep understanding of the project context, because we find that just generates deeper impact and more lasting and sustainable companies. And we need to see realistic and quantifiable project outputs. We don't need to see huge scale. That's what results-based financing mechanisms are for, or other financing. What we want to see is quality over quantity. And to achieve that, we would like to also see a clear route to market from you, a plan for how you're going to implement and achieve those results that you're projecting. But in that process, we also are very aware that we're working with very early stage companies at times, and we want to see awareness of your own gaps. Where do you have capacity gaps? Where do you need some support? EEP Africa can provide that. You was already presenting that on the technical assistance pillar. And last but not least, it's something that we already check for as we are taking you in through the intake process, through pitch interviews and proposal stage. A proactive, transparent, and respectful communication is really important for us as funders, for the portfolio managers who will be working with you, etc. As we're evaluating your proposal or your EOI, we also ask you to give us a project budget. And this project budget can be quite flexibly used. It's really meant to be used to put you on that journey of becoming a successful and commercially self-sustaining company. We have a number of different budget categories that you can complete, where you can identify what you're using the funding for. Staffing costs, acquisition of fixed assets or goods, external services, office costs, transport, etc. What we are funding, however, is a project. We are not providing working capital. So it can contain a component of working capital, but it's not solely working capital. So you can't allocate all funding to one budget line. We need to see a project budget that is relatively balanced. So as you're considering how you're going to use your funding, make sure that it is balanced across these different categories. Another aspect that is really important is co-financing. And it's mandatory. However, we do have several different approaches depending on the project type that you're applying for and the maturity of your company. In terms of company maturity, there is a matrix in the guidelines. If you're not sure which maturity level you're at, use that matrix to identify where you're at. Our standard approach for co-financing is on the left-hand side here. For feasibility studies, a scale-up and replication project, standard approach is 70% EEP Africa grant, a maximum amount, and then cash co-financing 30%, a minimum amount. So you can play around with that, but the maximum EEP Africa grant amount that we can give for these projects is 70% of your total project cost. We have given a little bit of leeway for early stage companies that want to implement pilot projects. And there we can also accept in-kind contribution of 20%. That in-kind contribution can be, for example, founder time. It can be any kind of pro bono services that you're receiving. It can be existing assets that you've acquired within a period of 2 years up to the project, up to the grant, and other aspects. So this is really defined on a case-by-case basis for each project. But again, in the project implementation manual that is also on the website, you can find some guidelines on what that entails. And then we only require 10% cash co-financing. And lastly, for more mature companies, for any kind of project that a mature company would apply for, we need 50% co-financing. And 50% grant. The source of co-financing is flexible. It can be other grants, it can be debt financing, it can be equity, it can be cash reserves as well. What we don't want to see and can't accept as co-financing is projections of future revenue, for example. It needs to be new and existing co-financing for the specific project. How do we evaluate EOI? So overall, our EOI forms are in 6 forms, 6 different categories. So the applicant profile, here we look at the company maturity. We look at the majority ownership structure, so gender, but also where is the founder from, where is the majority shareholder from, and leadership structure as well. The project scope itself and the project description here, we really need to see the quality of the responses. So again, make sure that you're giving sufficient detail of your project across those questions that are listed here. The budget, we ask you for the total project cost as well as the grant amount. We ask you for some details on co-financing and in-kind contribution, if applicable, as well as any prior financing that you might have had. And then last, for the due diligence, the last category that we really also evaluate, we need to see an understanding of the legal and regulatory requirements and submission of any kind of relevant documents that we need to, that we should be looking at for your project. We also ask for your technical assistance needs, and we also ask for your input to a market survey that really is very, very useful for us to get a better feel for where the market is at the moment. These are not evaluated, but we do appreciate your input here. Let me close off after having given you all these sort of technical aspects of submitting the EEP Africa application, some general tips for preparing a really strong application. As you go through, especially sort of the project description, but also decide on which partners to work with, be clear on the roles and responsibilities of your team members as well as your partners in your project. Do demonstrate strong local presence and an understanding of the market and the customer needs, that local context I was mentioning earlier already. Be realistic in your grant size. Just because the cap is 500,000 euros, maybe a project doesn't need 500,000. Our minimum is 200,000. Do a bottom-up assessment of what you really need to get your project off the ground and successfully implemented. Be honest about your technical assistance needs. We will work with you during the proposal stage as well as during the contracting stage to really identify where we can step in as EEP Africa with our TA partners to provide you with support. Be realistic on your outputs of your project. I mentioned that already. Focus on the long-term potential more than the immediate results. That's what EEP Africa is for, driving that innovation that can then drive a longer-term impact where you're implementing. Do secure your co-financing upfront if possible. If not, that is okay. But then we need to see a very clear plan from you on how you're going to obtain it. You can also list it as a major TA need, but do flag that. We cannot accept applications that will just put a 0 for co-financing in the application form. Be concise and consistent. Do make sure that your project scope aligns with your budget request and the details you're providing there. And then just very, very practical. Don't wait until the last 48 hours before the deadline to start your application and submit it. Start early, reserve sufficient time, make checklists of what you need to submit, what still needs to get done, have several eyes on the application in your team. And last but not least, while all of this might be a bit overwhelming, there's a lot we are asking of you. Still, show us your enthusiasm and your commitment. That goes a long way in your application process. Very quickly, I'm conscious I'm a bit over time. Next steps for applicants. Do make sure that you follow EEP Africa on the social media channels. We post updates and reminders on LinkedIn a lot. Subscribe to the newsletter. And do please thoroughly read the CFP guidelines, the project implementation manual, and the frequently asked questions document that are on our website. They will answer a lot of the questions that you might already have. The call will launch on February 16th. It will be open from midnight. And we will accept questions for clarification via email up to a certain deadline. The CFP guidelines have a very detailed schedule of the various timelines that we're envisaging as we're selecting the projects. Lastly, before I close and hand back to Kelly for the Q&A, if you do feel that your business idea is not quite ready yet, or you've missed that window of 6 months for your company registration, you can start getting ready for Q1 2027 already. We will hopefully have another call then. Let me leave it at that. I'll hand back to Kelly for some Q&A.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. And thank you all for your attention. We do have time for some questions. I see that there are some in the chat as well as the Q&A, which have already been answered, except for one. One question is, are joint ventures accepted as applicants? You just responded. Would you like to clarify on the mic?
Sure. Sorry about earlier, my Teams crashed, so hopefully it didn't cause too much trouble in the early stages of the webinar.
No worries.
But yes, so joint ventures, I think there needs to be a lead applicant, and that lead applicant takes the contractual responsibility and signs the contract. But that lead applicant can have partners if that partnership creates a stronger business opportunity and kind of opportunities for sustainability. So from that perspective, yes, but there needs to be a lead, kind of a contractual lead partner for each project. Susanne, anything you want to kind of add for that, or?
No, we do. One thing to bear in mind is if you have a joint venture, yes, there needs to be a lead applicant, maybe more specifically on special purpose vehicles, which we also sometimes get as applicants, especially for feasibility studies. Keep in mind that we will be looking at the majority shareholder in any such ventures to determine the maturity of the applicant and then also the conditions for co-financing, etc.
Thank you. Another question just popped up. Can funds apply for this proposal?
No. If you mean like a fund who would then be dispersing the grants to other entities, then that's not eligible.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A or raise your hand. We can also open up your mic. In the meantime, there was a question about can the given value of held assets, equipment, or land owned by the business be considered to meet the required 30 to 50% in-kind contribution or cash co-financing? You see, you responded. If you would like to share more for those who did not read the chat yet.
Suzanne, I guess you can complement my reply. I more kind of refer to the in-kind being only for those early stage startups. Any cash co-financing needs to be kind of happen during the project duration, so we cannot account for historic expenditure when we look at the cash co-financing. But please, you can go a bit more explicit on the reply.
Yeah, so we can accept land and assets that have been acquired in a period of 2 years before I think it's the EOI opening date. And that is eligible for in-kind contribution only though. And as you rightly said, that only applies to early stage companies that are looking to do a pilot project. So keep that in mind as you're proposing your in-kind contribution.
Super, thanks. Could you clarify how you assess innovation for clean cooking or fuel projects in more mature markets, and what would make such a proposal stand out?
I would say it's really on a case-by-case basis and depends on the market and what is already happening in the market, what is the baseline. And what we would say is, with regards to clean cooking specifically, that we do need to see definitely tier 4 or 5 technologies being deployed. 2 and 3 will be trickier. We would need to see some innovation in the business model. One important aspect for clean cooking projects is often the question around carbon finance. We don't want to see clean cooking projects that solely rely on carbon finance. Then it can be a part of the revenue, but it shouldn't be the sole source of revenue. So that's also an important aspect to consider when you're designing your clean cooking project.
Thank you. For early stage startups, are audited financial statements mandatory?
They are not mandatory if you don't have them. When we get to the proposal stage, we will ask you for financial data. I think we already asked for it at the EOI stage as well, just more generally your revenue, liabilities, and assets. But then for a more mature company or company that has been operating for quite some time, we would expect that you do have audited financial statements.
Thank you. For Chris, he asked which countries are eligible to apply, Zimbabwe or South Africa. We do operate in 17 countries in Southern and Eastern Africa, and you can find all of them listed on our website at eepafrica.org. Next question is, what is the cap for the grant? If you want to repeat, Suzanne?
That's 500,000 euros for this year.
Thank you. And somebody asked, can I apply for funding for a second time, assuming that they've already applied once?
Yeah, of course. You just can't apply for an EEP Africa grant if you have an existing active grant with us. So if you still are waiting for a final disbursement on your grant, then you cannot apply. The project has to be completely closed by the time the EOI opens, and then we can accept an application from you again.
Thank you. Is there a company that is too small or too big to apply?
It's a tough one. It really depends on the project. We've had applications from more mature companies, and they have made it through to IC stage even. Not sure if we have any really large company that actually has received an EEP Africa grant recently. I don't think so. Too small to apply. We've funded companies that were 2 or 3 founders with not yet a team in place. So we can work with small companies. What is more important is for the larger companies, the additionality of our funding, that is proven. And for the smaller companies, your capacity to absorb the grant. 200,000 euros can be a lot of money for a very small business. Jussi, I'm sure you have some additional thoughts here.
Early no additional thoughts. I think you summarized it well.
Thank you. Next question. Do these calls include improved wood and charcoal stoves certified as efficient? And can we create a new stove prototype?
I mean, as I mentioned in the slide on additionality, for cook stoves, improved biomass cook stoves, tier 2, 3, it's really hard to demonstrate strong innovation. There are some markets, like for example, Burundi, where we say everything is eligible, also tier 2, tier 3 improved biomass cook stoves. That said, if you're asking to create a new stove, that to me suggests that you don't have a minimum viable product yet. So you might want to first create that MVP and then reconsider, and also look at the geography and whether it's really additional within the market you want to implement it.
Thank you. I believe this question is, can a subsidiary make a separate application?
Yes, absolutely. If it's registered and it has its own company registration certificate to submit, that is possible. However, we will look at the parent company in terms of maturity and co-financing requirements.
Thank you. We have a hand up.
Maybe one thing to add there, we wouldn't encourage a company who has multiple subsidiaries over multiple countries to send us 10 different applications. So I think that's stick with one application, and that's that.
Yes, absolutely. And please also note that we have in the past disqualified all applications from companies who have done that.
Thank you. Which tiers are eligible for cook stoves?
Tier 4 and 5, definitely. Tier 2 and 3, really depending on the country context and then the associated business model.
Thank you very much. Is it Teacher Aona? Do you want to put on your mic to ask your question? We can have time for one if you would like to open your mic. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you for holding this webinar. And so my question is, we recently got a grant, and we used it to build our equipment. We are into charcoal manufacturing, and we're using waste. And this is going to tobacco farmers in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is one of those countries that produce a lot of tobacco, and these people are chopping down trees. We've got a lot of deforestation. So currently, our phase of implementation with the farmers is starting April. That is the tobacco curing season. But we've already established that there is a market. We've done an MVP. Are we eligible to apply? Though our revenue for this phase we start generating it April going forward.
Revenue doesn't factor into our eligibility criteria. You don't have to, obviously having some revenue demonstrates that you have provided market fit for your product, but it's not a strict criterion. So if you can demonstrate that your product has customers and is being taken up, then I don't see a reason why, based on this criterion, we wouldn't be able to look at your application, but we really have to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions. The next one is, can a mature company pilot and scale a novel concept outside of its core business?
We would need to see a fit with the existing company strategy. I think that would be important for us to see that, this is not just sort of a pet project that, is being developed on the sidelines of the standard business. So we would like to see that strategic fit with the overall company strategy. You see?
Yeah, and I think financial additionality would be also quite scrutinized. So if you're a mature company asking for a grant, practically free money, then you need to really demonstrate skin in the game also as part of your application. Yeah.
Thank you. And we are going to take our last question here from William. You have your hand up. I will open your mic and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much for this update and explanation. I would like to find out whether it is eligible for someone to apply in this round for battery storage.
Yeah, energy efficiency is one of the products that we can fund. So battery storage projects, we have existing battery storage projects in the portfolio. So the technology is definitely eligible.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you, Yusi and Suzanne, for answering them. We are going to conclude this session. If your question was not answered in this call, remember that we will have our frequently asked questions on our website for you there. So please check there shortly for all of the answers. As you already know, the recording of the session will be available soon on our website. We have put a feedback link into the chat. We encourage you to take a few moments to let us know your thoughts on the session. And we also invite you back tomorrow for the final day of Knowledge Week, where we will hear more about digitalization and AI for the clean energy sector. And the registration information can be found on our website at eepafrica.org. So thank you all very much, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Everyone, bye.